Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Joined as always, I'm talking about professional kickboxer, the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Brandon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, it's a Tuesday. You know what it is. Time to talk some fights.
It is. Real quick, Brandon rushed into the show, so he doesn't have his on. But Art of MMA, check out the promo code above, save 15%. But we're going to jump right into everything. artofmma.com/shop. I definitely just lost my DX promo code there. I butchered that. But we're going to jump right into things today. I'm going to go over a few news headlines, but UFC 259 was so stacked that most of the news this week actually comes from those fights. So we're going to go over each fight on the card and then talk about what's next for some of the fighters. And then we'll move on to our picks. We didn't have a great week of picks last week. Brandon was 1-3. I was 2-2. Though I could have been 3-1 if it wasn't for Peter Yan. But guess we will never know. I guess Sterling could have pulled off the miracle later in the fight, but I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Brandon, there are a few quick news headlines to talk about. Our good friends over at Cage Fury Fighting Championships are back next week. They have a March 11th and March 12th card. The March 11th card actually has, I believe, 3 title fights, the flyweight, the bantamweight, or 2 title fights, and then a bantamweight contender fight. And then the March 12th fight has 2 title fights. They have the middleweight title and their heavyweight title on the line. So if you're in the Northeast or you have UFC Fight Pass, make sure you check out CFFC this next coming week. In other fight news, we talk about PFL a lot lately because they've been in the news. Next week, we'll go over a little bit more in depth their new card they just announced for May, including the Verdum debut. But speaking of them, they did just partner with a fan scoring app called Verdict MMA. And I know, Brandon, we've been talking about open scoring. I know you've been talking about quite a bit. This isn't that, but it'd be pretty cool to see how the fans are kind of scoring this fight as the show goes on ESPN. They'll be working with a way to display that as the fight goes on. In other news, UFC and DraftKings, we saw this last weekend. They just came up to a partnership. And now DraftKings is the official partner of UFC. So I don't know what that means with other apps like FanDuel and stuff like that. But, you know, the same as they do with WWE and NFL and everywhere else, I'm sure they'll have official pools and contests to go along with that cool new clock they have for the UFC. And a couple of more serious things. Henry Cejudo is coming back, allegedly. I'll leave it at allegedly. He tweeted he's coming back. I guess he's gotten enough interest with everything going on after this weekend's card. And, you know, he's been getting that call out for quite a while. There are some interesting non-title fights going on because I'm pretty sure we know Yan and Sterling have to run it back soon. But in the lead up, that leaves a couple people waiting that we will talk about. And the last bit of news, I'm not going to touch on it too much because I don't know all the details. Dan Hardy was fired from the UFC. It kind of came out, I guess it happened a few weeks ago, quietly. He was let go because he got in an argument with a female employee. It wasn't anything sexual or anything like that. It was just him losing his cool towards a female employee, and he was already on probation from what I understand. That's about as much as I know. I can only assume, and this is purely guessing, it was another Herb Dean type situation where he just kind of lost his cool, yelled at somebody, and Dana and them were just, that's enough. So I know Dan Hardy's kept his mouth shut about it. He's been doing his podcast and doing some other stuff. He's hinted at actually maybe having a fight come back. So we'll see what happens with all that. As we know, we will tell you guys next week. But after that long-winded quick spiel of the news, Brandon, you ready to talk about what was UFC 259?
Yeah, man, let's talk about it.
You know, speaking of that bantamweight division, the fight card got started off with a bang. Trevin Jones came out, Mario Bautista, second round knockout. Trevin Jones is an interesting story. He should have a 4-fight winning streak instead of a 3. But he was popped for what at the time, which was another kind of news story kind of coming out now, that the UFC is kind of, well, not the UFC, the athletic commissions are lightening the rules on marijuana use, making it okay now because it's a performance. How did they say it? Depressor performance?
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's supposed to be that it numbs you.
Yeah, it hurts your performance, not helps it. So they made it legal per se. I guess it still depends on which athletic commission. But the major ones, Nevada, California, both don't have a problem with it any longer. So his victory over Valiev, which was overturned to a no contest, should have been 4-fight win streak, including 2 in the UFC, but now it's just 1. Trevin Jones has a lot of potential. You know, he had that quick knockout over Batista. He looked incredible. If anybody's followed him, you know, he's had an up and down career as far as coming up in the independents, but since he's gotten to the UFC, he's looked great. He looked great in that Valiev fight. What do you think of Trevin Jones' future? Do you think he's going to be a contender? Because he's already 30.
Yeah, I mean, man, we already see, man, dude, age is nothing but a number, man. I mean, we're gonna talk about it later on, but you look at the main event, you look at Jan. I think Jan is 37 or 39, something like that, you know. So, you know, hey, he's still, you know, he's still there, you know, at 30 years old. Like I said, man, he looked good. He looked good that fight, man. And like to me, that fight started, it was like he was going in for the kill right off the bat. He wasn't wasting any time, and man, he caught him nicely.
And that's a fight I thought Batista had a good shot. Like Batista's only loss coming into that fight and probably ever. In fact, his only loss was Corey Sandhagen, which is next for all intents and purposes. Him, Dillashaw, maybe Triple C now. But in all purposes is next. That was his only loss. And he's run through. He just had a flying knee knockout over Miles Johns. You know, coming into this fight, he's been off for like a year. So maybe that kind of has something to do with it. He started off slow in this fight, but he never had a chance. Like you said, Trevin just blitzed him from the beginning. I almost cursed. I almost did it, but I didn't do it. So let's go real quick, and then we'll move on to the next fight. Who do you think is a good matchup for Trevin Jones? Because a lot of the people above him, especially ranked fighters above him, already have more, I guess, important things to fight an unranked fighter. I mean, right there at 15 is Marlon Vera, who coming off that, you know, sugar victory. He's looking for bigger and better. I think he had a fight canceled late last year. Kyler Phillips, who fought, now is ranked at number 14. He's not going to go backwards. Maybe a Cody Stamann if he gets any kind of ranked opponent. I know there's a lot of fun fights as far as bantamweight fighters go, but can you think of anybody that would be a really good matchup for him that's not ranked at 135?
I don't know. I was gonna say, I'm like, Ricky Simone is ranked though, right? Or is he not ranked?
At 135, I don't believe he's not ranked yet.
So that I'm saying, so that right.
But he's looking, but he's also another guy looking for a ranked opponent.
Yeah,
because he's blitzed through 2-3 straight guys.
Yeah,
he needs a ranked opponent.
Because I mean, that's what I was thinking right off the bat when you was talking about those two. Like I was thinking of Ricky Simone, but I just wasn't sure if he was ranked or not. Because I think that would be a good matchup. Or I mean, I know he's coming off a loss, but maybe actually it's just who Ricky Simone just beat, but maybe Brian Kelleher.
You know? That'd be a good fight. Yeah, they'd both be going for the knockout. That'd be a good one. Yeah. Kelleher like loads up his punches all the time, so that'd be a good fight. Tough to see what's up for Batista after that long winning streak, or that, you know, winning most of your fights except for, you know, Sandman. Like, I don't know what's next for him. He's gonna have to wait and see who's coming up in the rankings to even get a chance, I guess.
Yeah,
because he was one of those guys on the cusp of being ranked, and now he's, you know, you lose a fight like that, that's going to be trouble. So, any more thoughts on that fight before we move on?
I like that. I think it was just it was a good finish, man, and that's all. And a finish is always a good way to start a fight card.
I mean, we went with 5 straight finishes to start this card. So this card started off with a bang. And speaking of one of those finishes, the next fight was Uros Medic and Elan Cruz, which was a first round knockout. Honestly, there's 2 things I want to say about this, and I know you. I'm just waiting to see your face when I mention the referee. But there's 2 things. One, Medic looked incredible since moving over from King's MMA. You can see his striking was just I mean, he already had good standing, but like his striking was a million times better. Cruz, who actually is, I didn't know this before the fight, is from Tampa, right here where I'm at. So, and Cruz actually looked good on his feet. He just got caught. He got caught early, and he got caught quick, and he just never recovered. But Mark Smith let that fight go on about 30 seconds longer than it should have. And I know it's hard when you're in the middle of the moment and you want to see a guy kind of recover, especially if you know he's a tougher fighter. But man, Cruz is lucky he isn't seriously hurt after taking that many uncontested shots from Medic. So Mark Smith's normally a fantastic referee. You saw him later in the night, obviously in the Peter Yan fight. But that's my 2 cents on it. What you think of that fight?
Dude, I can't lie to you. That is the only fight I didn't see because UFC Fight Pass was speaking. UFC Fight Pass wasn't working. I saw the first fight, then went to the second fight. And said, no, my Fight Pass stopped working. And I tried to log back in and it wouldn't work. I even tried to go on ESPN Plus. I even went on ESPN Plus. That wasn't working. I could not see the fight. The next thing I know, I look on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, the fight's over." It was like, "Oh, what a stoppage!" And that's when I saw everybody commenting about Mark Smith and everything like that. So I can't say anything because I didn't see the fight. I don't know what went down. And like that's the only fight on the card I missed.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not just me this time. Mark Smith was way too late on that one. I don't know. I think maybe Cruz was like verbally saying I'm okay. But he wasn't. It was just uncontested shot after uncontested shot. And at some point, your number one job as a referee, whether the fighter likes an early stoppage or not, is to protect the fighter. Because guys, you're in that cage. You've been in that cage. You've been in, professional kickboxing fights, glory, all that stuff. It only takes one blow to put your lights out. It only takes one really well-placed blow to like kill you. Mm-hmm. You're putting your life on the line every time. And when you're at a point where you can't defend yourself any longer, I'd rather have them arguing about an early stoppage and that fighter being okay to fight again than to be talking about the other way where somebody, let it go too long and that fighter's permanently injured. So from all intents and purposes, I think Cruz is okay from what I've heard. But that fight went way too long. It was uncontested. It could have been stopped way earlier. Next fight, the ladies, brand and specialty. I'm talking about Lemos versus Souza. Another quick knockout. This time, Jason Herzog stopped it appropriately. Sorry, I had to. What do you think of that fight? Did you see that one?
Yes, I did. So that's the only fight. The second fight was the only fight I didn't see, man. Dude, that was it. Was
come on,
good
Brand. This is why they pay us the big bucks.
I'm saying, man. It was a good stoppage. I liked it. I thought it was well deserved, man. Homegirl was done. She didn't want any more. Like I said, you can see you can see how that fight was going. There wasn't gonna be any change. And like you said, the ref job is to protect the fighter. He knew this girl was just gonna be taking a beating, and he was like, "Nah, I'm stopping it."
And actually, I'm sorry, real quick before we talk more about this fight. Medic now 7-0 lightweight division. I think actually, you talk about Makhachev, who won later in the night, might be a great matchup for him. What do you think would be a good matchup for him coming up?
155.
7-0.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's 155, man. There's plenty of people that he could fight. I would maybe think I think my man Hot Sauce, he might be fighting though soon. Why can't I remember his name right now? But his nickname is Hot Sauce, so I know. Why can't I remember? Man, I know from like XFC. I can't remember his name right now. He's mind blank. But that's what I got.
Honestly, and I'll throw a name out here I don't think people have talked about in a long time, who's kind of on the bottom of the rankings. Medic's only gotten 2 UFC fights, so he probably has to win 1 or 2 more fights before he even gets close to a ranked fight. But Al Ian Quinta, talking about Sterling, he hasn't been around in a little bit. He's lost a couple fights. That might be a good measurement stick to see where Medic's at. So that's my 2 cents on that. Didn't want to skip over it like we've done, I've done before. But back to Lemos. I honestly think, she's in a 115-pound division. She looked fantastic. But, a lot of those girls already got fights kind of lined up. So I really don't know what's next for her. Maybe a Felice Herring or somebody like that would be a fun fight. They're ranked right next to each other. Lemos jumped up to 14, Herring's 15. Angela Hill's already spoken for this weekend. Maybe Vima, maybe Dern, if you want to jump her up even further.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking she maybe get the winner of the Angela Hill Ashley Yoder fight since saying she just fought this Saturday. They're fighting this Saturday. Everybody should be healed up by that time. I mean, especially with her, she didn't take much damage, and Angela Hill, she likes to fight anyway, like Cowboy Cerrone does. So I mean, if Angela Hill wins, I can see those two matching up. It would be a striker's delight.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be opposed to seeing her fight Dern, because Lemos has ground game too. Mm-hmm. She just had that rear naked victory over Granger a year and a half ago, maybe. So she's got a ground game too. What do you think is next for Souza? Because she came off, she lost that fight back in July of 19 to Van Buren. She lost to Lemos, but she beat Ashley Yoder, who's fighting this weekend. Yeah. She beat Alex Chambers and a fighter like that. She did lose to Angela Hill a few years ago. Who do you think would be a good matchup for her to get back on the track?
I mean, I feel bad for her because she's actually a former Invicta champion, so I mean, there's some high hope for her. Yeah, homegirl can get down. I mean, I think is it the 20th or is it next, or is it the Saturday too? I think our good friend or just good friend of the show Ginn Fry is fighting. I think it's
she
this
fights
Saturday,
this
right?
weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. So
she fights DePaula.
Yeah, so maybe the loser of that fight, it could be, because that's
maybe even the winner.
UFC likes to do. Yeah, I mean, it could be that too, but usually like to do loser versus loser, winner versus winner. But sometimes they do switch it up.
I mean, in this case,
it could be somebody from that fight.
Yeah, in this case, I'm sure Souza was a much higher ranked person than either of those girls, because even Ginn has lost 2 fights in a row, I believe.
Yep.
Luke Abami. Oh God, I can't believe I'm butchering that right now. I remember last episode, that time when she won, and I was the only one saying it right, and now I'm the one that can't say it right. But yeah, like Ginn's lost 2 fights in a row, but we'll talk about that, later. But yeah, I mean, I don't see, that's a very crowded division. Maybe Fleece Herring for her as well, because she was another one of those right on the edge of it. Both her and Lemos were right there on the rankings, which that's why Lemos jumped up to 14 after her win. So that's going to be interesting to see what they do with Souza, aka the Brazilian gangster. I love that nickname, by the way. They should have her fight Chael Sonnen. See what Chael still got left. The next fight I want to talk about, and I'm mad I didn't make this my pick. I knew Sean Brady was coming back. Him and Jake Matthews, I knew would be a really good fight. But instead, I went with my heart, and I picked Thiago. That was a mistake. But Sean Brady, man, he actually looked like he started off a little slow, and I kind of give Jake Matthews credit for that, because Jake Matthews is a really good striker. We've seen Jake Matthews fight, Diego Sanchez. That was a bloody mess. Saw him in a couple tough fights against Meek and Ackman. So he's been around the UFC for a few years. Had that really good fight with Lee a few years ago. So Jake Matthews is no slouch. He's been up and down in his UFC career a little bit as well. Sean Brady, trained by a good friend of the show, Jonathan Webb, over in that Philadelphia area, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, the CFFC card is going to be in the old Philadelphia arena, 2300 arena, the ECW arena. So if you're in Philadelphia, go check that out if you're allowed. But Sean Brady, dude, he had a matchup lined up with Bilal Muhammad before that fight got canceled. Mm-hmm. He had a great performance. He got the stoppage late. What do you think of that fight, and what do you think's next for Sean Brady?
And it was a good fight, real good fight. Sean Brady went in, did what he had to do. Like, I really want to say, I felt like he wore Matthews down, because I wanted to say, like, standing up, it was kind of even, but then once he kind of started taking him down, he was working his ground game on him. He was just swarming him, man. What's next for him? Like, he said it. He wants that Bilal Muhammad fight still. So,
well, he was fair. He said if Bilal loses, because he knows Bilal will jump up in the rankings if he wins.
Yeah. So I'm saying, so I mean, hey man, if Bilal takes the L, then that's who he wants. If not, trying to think. I mean, I could maybe see him go up against a Diego Lima maybe at 170. Hey man, I know. I usually don't try to put my people out there, but I mean, if my boy Lyman Good's available, you know, I think that could be a fun one.
Now that would be a really fun fight. Before I say this, I'm not sure if Robbie Lawler's still fighting. I haven't heard anything.
He did. Yeah, that's right. He did ask for Robbie Lawler too.
I think that would be great. They're right now, Sean Brady jumped up to 14th in the rankings. Robbie's still sitting there at 15. He's always a name fighter. If you're a fighter like Sean Brady, who's got this undefeated streak, but he did take time off for, you know, a knee injury and surgery, coming back from an injury, which might have also kind of I'll say he started off slow his last couple fights, though. He's always kind of one of those guys that wears you down. He looks for that guillotine, especially that one-arm guillotine that he has is very vicious. You saw him on the ground against Jake Matthews a couple times trying to like wrap that arm, like kind of tuck it around, but Jake never really gave his head 100%. Somebody like Robbie Lawler, I think, is a dangerous fight for Sean Brady because I don't think Sean's striking is on that level yet.
Mm-hmm.
His grappling is 100% on that level. He's obviously a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You know he's Philadelphia tough. You know he's not afraid to scrap with you. But Jake Matthews was tagging him a few times. When they were on their feet, Jake Matthews was getting the best of that stand-up until Brady started taking him down. And once Brady started taking him down, that fight was over. Robbie Lawler touches you, you could go to sleep. Even at, what is he, 35, 36, whatever Robbie is now. I know he's been fighting a very long time, but he started at such a young age, so I'm not really sure how old Robbie is at this point. I want to say he's 35. Even at this age, Robbie Lawler can still put you to sleep. That's a dangerous fight. Somebody like a Jeff Neal or a Li Jingliang would probably be a safer fight for Sean Brady, to be honest with you, especially Jeff Neal. Like, I think he could beat Jeff Neal.
I mean, he did ask for Ling. I think he asked for. I think he asked for Bilal Muhammad, Robbie Lawler, and he asked for Ling.
He asked for the people that were at the bottom of the rankings. Yeah, you could clearly know he knew who was at the bottom. So that'll be interesting to see. I love watching Sean Brady fight. I've been watching him since CFFC. I think that kid is going to be a champion one day, but he needs to shore up some certain things. Like, you know, you can't go against Usman with those, I don't want to say flaws, but just not having those skills tight. Usman, Burns, Covington, Masvidal, I feel like all of them would give Brady a nightmare. So Brady, though, is strong. He's young, and he's explosive. And once he gets some of those skills tightened up completely, he's going to be very dangerous in that division for a long time, in my opinion. What do you think's next for Jake Matthews?
Bellator? I don't know.
That's cool.
Nah, I mean, maybe for him, man. Like he maybe could get Diego Lima, because I think Diego Lima's coming off the
loss, yeah.
You know, so I mean, I can see those two guys going at it. You know.
Well, I doubt he'll be cut because, you know, he's been in the UFC since 2014. He did win 3 in a row before this fight, but the UFC did just cut Overeem, who was winning 4 out of 5 before he lost.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's a money thing at the end of the day, but I don't think he's that expensive of a fighter. I could see him maybe. It's hard. I think he's gonna have to kind of wait and see, because that 170's got a lot to work out before some of those fighters kind of come together. Another fighter who had a lot of hype moving on, Carlos Ulberg, obviously one of Adesanya's guys out of the same camp. Very impressive in all of his previous fights. Fighting Kennedy, I was saying it perfect before this too. Zachukwu, thank you, God. Nzechukwu, which is funny because I remember DC was the only one on the fight card calling him by his last name, and everybody else was just saying Kennedy. But Nzechukwu, he was patient. I kept saying during the broadcast that he was doing, instead of rope-a-dope, I felt like he was doing cage-a-dope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they kept sitting there saying, "Are you okay?" They were asking him, you know, Herb Dean was like checking on him, saying, "Fight back." Let me say my 2 cents, and I'll let you go with this one, because this was kind of right up your alley as far as the striking goes. Ulberg came out in the Contender Series and looked like a monster. He knocked Oliveira clean out, Bruno Oliveira. He came out fast in this fight. In the first round, the first thing I said, he is vicious with his hands, but he has zero defense. Zero defense. He is a very good striker, a very talented striker. He's a long, lanky kid. He's 6'4", fighting in that 205-pound division. He can strike with anybody, and probably including Adesanya in the gym. But he has zero defense, and he had his hands super low. And Kennedy, whenever he would just wait, and then pop, wait, and then pop. And he was catching Oberg, and he almost put him to sleep a couple times in the first round. And then Oberg would get back on top of him. Kennedy would cover up, and they would go. How do you break down that fight?
And it was a good fight. It was two. It was two good camps. Fortis MMA, City Kickboxing. So I mean, you definitely knew that both people were going to be prepared. It's kind of like really what you said. I kind of thought, Kennedy was. When I was watching, I thought, man, he's just waiting his time. He's just gonna let what's the name? Just tire. Yeah, he was just gonna tire himself out. The only thing I would have said for what is it? Is it Utrecht?
Huh?
What?
Kennedy?
No, not Kennedy.
Oberg?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Oberg. I'm sorry. I don't know. I got to think of my fights mixed up. Yeah, the only thing I would like from Oberg was like when he had the high shell.
Well, you get mixed up and I get mixed up, and then we're all screwed up.
Yeah, he should have went to the body, but the thing was, like, he really wasn't. He was kind of headhunting the entire time.
Oh, he ripped some body shots though.
I mean, he did, but he didn't do enough. That's what I'm saying. I think he should have did more body shots, but he didn't really throw enough. And then that's when boom, he got caught.
When they were up against the cage, he was ripping those body shots.
Yeah. But hey, man, it was a good fight. I liked it, and I'm ready to see where either guy goes. I mean both of them. I mean, like, that really was both their UFC debuts because I think they both were on the Contender Series.
Well, this was officially Kennedy's third fight. So Kennedy came out, lost to Paul Craig in his debut after the Contender Series, but then he beat Stosic, and now he beat Oberg. So this is his third. But it was Oberg's first. And overall, as far as professionally, and I don't know if Oberg has a kickboxing background like Adesanya did. I'm assuming he does. But as far as MMA history goes, this was only his fourth fight overall. He had two fights, then fought in the Contender Series, looked amazing, and then got this fight. So I don't think Oberg really has that much experience in the UFC, in like an MMA cage. And you can kind of clearly see that he's more of a kickboxer, like his style. And I know, City Kickboxing does train full MMA. It's not like it's just a name, but Adesanya clearly had some takedown defense. He clearly had some skills on the ground. He needs more, but he clearly did. So I mean, it's not like that. But you got a guy like, I'm just going to say Kennedy. You got a guy like Kennedy who's been fighting since 2016 in MMA, 2015 if you count his amateur career, and he's used to being in there. And he moved over to Fortis. He talked about it before the fight, how he was more composed. He was this, he was that, and he showed it in the cage. And he's obviously got killer conditioning because even when he did rip those body shots, he just kept on coming. They're both young up and comers in 205. I'll kind of hold off unless you want to talk about it. What's next for either one of these guys, because neither one are ready for a rank fighter, but they both, I think, have a decent future, especially if Oberg can go back to the lab and correct some of the mistakes that he has. Anything else you want to add about this fight?
No, man, it was just a good fight. I look forward to seeing what they have next.
So that was the cap off of our 5 straight fights to start off the card, all with a finish. If you chose those 5 fights on DraftKings, you probably won a lot of money. I didn't. I chose a couple, but unfortunately, later I got screwed over by some certain things. But let's move on. So I kind of hinted before in the news segment, the reason why we didn't cover too much news today is because so much came out of what happened during the fight card. This next fight is one of those. Tim Kennedy, Jordan Espinoza. It wasn't much of a contest, Brandon, because Kennedy basically just wrestled him and smothered him for 3 rounds.
You mean Elliott? Tim Elliott.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tim Elliott.
Tim Kennedy's a welterweight out here. I mean,
a
middleweight.
long since retired one too.
Yeah.
But 30-27, 30-27, and even 30-25, which would have made Dana White's skin crawl after he started complaining about the 10-8 rounds later. But Tim Elliott laying on him at one point, the mics picked up him calling Espinoza a woman beater for a story that nobody's really been able to confirm. But evidently, the backstory is that Espinoza's ex-girlfriend DM'd or texted Tim Elliott all the evidence going into the fight. For what purpose, I don't know. Maybe she was hoping more press over it, but Elliott wasn't really saying it to get picked up on the mic. He said he was just saying it. He didn't know the mics were going to pick it up. I kind of call BS on that a little bit. In an empty arena, the mics are going to pick up almost anything. I feel like he was saying it more to kind of get under his opponent's skin to try to like shit talk him. It is a more serious story as far as domestic violence goes with Espinoza, but it is unconfirmed. I'll say it like that. As far as just talking about the fight, Brandon, is there really anything to talk about? Elliott just smothered him for 3 rounds. He did what he does. And unless you're an explosive fighter like Askarov or Royval, that's what Kennedy's going to do to. I keep saying Kennedy. That's what Elliott's going to do to most people, right?
Yeah, man. Elliott did what he does, man. He comes in there, he tries to make it sloppy standing up, and that way, boom, he takes you down. Because that's what he was doing. He would throw his strikes, and then I think Espinoza would try to come back, and then he would just take him down, and then he would just be on top of him, and that's it, man. Once Tim Elliott gets you down, man, if you're not really good at jiu-jitsu or you can't explode up, he's gonna keep you there.
He's such a tough fighter to like rank, because Tim Elliott, like for a while, was dead in the water, and then he had that big fight at the last second as a last second replacement against Mighty Mouse, and he went 5 rounds toe to toe with Mighty Mouse, right? And everybody's like singing Tim Elliott's praises that he's a contender, which he did take it to Mighty Mouse. He hung with him, he wrestled him, he grappled him, he made it hell for Mighty Mouse for 5 rounds. His last 3 losses are all against a champion and 2 possible contenders. He lost to Figueiredo, he lost to Askarov, and he lost to Royval, who, up until he popped his shoulder out against Moreno, we were all talking about him possibly being one of the next guys. Ben Nguyen, that's a tough loss. Is that the same Ben that does bare knuckle now?
I don't know, man. I don't watch bare knuckle.
You should. That's just fun. But so Tim Elliott, like, I don't know, like, what's next? Does he stay at 125? Does he go to 135? What do you think?
Nah, I think 125 is where he is where his weight is. I don't know. I want to say I felt like those other fights he was hanging out in Vegas, but now I think him and his girl and the baby, I think they now moved to Missouri and they're hanging out at Glory with James Krause.
Yeah, he's with James Krause. James Krause was in his corner. Yeah.
Yeah. So I again, like, it's just all about, to me, man. He made the switch because I want to say when he went on the Ultimate Fighter run, I want to say he was in Missouri, but then I think he moved, like, after the Ultimate Fighter and all that stuff. I think he moved out to Vegas because I want to say that's where his girl was training at Granger. So I think she was out there training, and that's where they were. But I think, man, once, like, they both kind of have went a little downhill in their careers. So now I think they moved back to Missouri. So, I mean, hey, man, I'm always down to watch a Tim Elliott fight. I
think he's always fun and entertaining. I think Tim Elliott is definitely going to hang around for a while, but I don't see any title shots anywhere near in his future. But he's always a tough fight. He's always a tough fight. I was actually singing his praises going into that Figueiredo fight, and Figueiredo finished him quick. But that doesn't happen very often. He's usually a tough out if you beat him at all. As far as Espinoza, I think Espinoza is probably going to get cut. I mean, that's 4 out of 5 losses. I find it hard to believe that they keep him around. He might have to go win a couple fights and come back. He's 31, so he still has time, but especially if that domestic violence stuff does come out to be true, I think he's done. And I don't think Dana's going to stick around with that and get that bad press. So that is my 2 cents on that. Next fight, this is a guy Brandon's actually talked about a few times. Kai Kara France versus Rogério Bontorin. I actually was playing devil's advocate. I could see Bontorin kind of giving him a little bit of fight, and he did. I mean, for real. I mean, 4 minutes of that fight, he was smothering him. He was trying to tap him out. He was trying to do everything. And then Kai Kara-France landed, and then it was lights out. I feel like he was, I don't even know waiting and being patient was the right word because he was in survival mode. But I think he knew he had the confidence to know that if he landed, that was a game changer. What do you think of that fight?
And it was good jiu-jitsu defense by Kara-France. Like I say, he was in trouble, but to me, he didn't panic. He stayed relaxed. Because that's how you want to be in jiu-jitsu. Man, like I tell people, jiu-jitsu is the art of gentleness. You just want to be relaxed. You want to be chill. You don't want to be like how it is in kickboxing and boxing. Just go. And that's what he was. He was patient, relaxed. He got his opening to where he could get out. He got it standing where it is that he wanted to be, set up his shots, and he got that kill shot, and it was lights out, man. Like I tell people, man, when it's face down, butt up, you know it's over. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I feel bad for Bonatorin, but at the same time, that's the game they play sometimes. And he just got caught, and that was it. Kind of tough to say what's next for either one. Kara-France's 2 losses aren't bad losses. His last 2 losses are to Moreno and to Royval. Obviously, Moreno is about to have a rematch for the title. Royval coming back off that injury. Kara-France is ranked 7 now. Him and Bonatorin were right next to each other as far as rankings go. Tim Elliott's all the way up to 10. That might be a fun matchup for each of them, but I think Kara-France is probably looking up the rankings. Maybe Alex Perez? What do you think?
I was thinking it could be Alex Perez, or he could get he maybe could get that rematch with Royval when he comes back from injury.
Maybe. I mean, the problem is that Royval just smothered him and beat him. Like I don't think that fight was even everybody was hyping up Kara-France as the next big thing going into that fight. Nobody really knew who Royval was. Mm-hmm. And Royval just took that. He took it personal, and he came out and he won that fight in every aspect, standing, grappling, every aspect. So I don't think that's a good matchup for somebody like Kara-France because Royval he's just one of those guys who always has a chip on his shoulder, and he's looking for a reason to be motivated. And coming back off that injury on a fight that he was probably winning until he got hurt, and then obviously Moreno took advantage, and Moreno then went on to fight for the title. I mean, in back of Royval's mind, he's got to be thinking that should have been me. So that'd be tough. I actually kind of agree with you, but at the same time, I think a fight like maybe even, Joey B. Benavidez is sitting right there. He might be a good another stepping stone because Benavidez didn't look that great on Saturday night, and he's still ranked higher. So that might be a good, see where you're at type fight as well. What do you think on the other side is next for Bonatorin? Because Bonatorin was ranked right there with him.
I was going to say, to me, Bonatorin, I would say would maybe get Joey B because like I said, they're both coming off losses. So maybe Kara-France can maybe get Askarov, since they both won. But like I said, man, you never know with the way how the UFC they like to do their matchmaking.
I'd go a step further. Maybe even if they're going to downgrade him a little bit, maybe somebody like Tim Elliott who's trying to move up, or Dvorak, Paiva. They're both coming off losses. They're both ranked right there at 11 and 12. They both might want to be bouncing back. Or even somebody like Muderi, Su Muderi, who's coming off a win. He's 13. That might be another step up for him as well, trying to get up there. And, of course, you got Tyson Nam sitting right there looking for a fight as well in his comeback tour, even though he had the split decision loss to Matt Schnell. So a couple good fights to think about there. The next fight, it killed my DraftKings. It killed me. I know Askarov is a killer. I thought Joey B, Joseph Benavidez, was going to win this fight because the only person Joseph Benavidez loses to is champions. He goes through everybody else they put in front of him. Every time you think Joseph Benavidez is done, he comes out and wins a fight, except when the title's on the line. He he steps up. He just gets outperformed, obviously, but it's not like he doesn't show up for title fights. He's just, he ran into Mighty Mouse, Triple C, Figueiredo. So like he runs into these killers. That's not really his fault because those guys, unfortunately there's levels to this, right? But Askarov's looking like he's on that level. He looked fantastic in that fight. Break it down for me.
And I think Askarov just too much, man. I mean, you look at Joey B's face; it was bloody. It was battered. It was just Askarov, man, was just too smooth for him, man. He looked good movement, good combinations. Like Joey B, man, he was just he was trying to use it. Usually Joey B is usually one of the faster guys, but it didn't seem like he was that fast on Saturday night.
Nah, and Askarov, like it was never like Benavidez never had a chance. Like the entire fight, like never had a chance. I'll pull up the scoring real quick, but it was pretty much 30-27, 30-27, and 30-26. So there was even a 10-8 round. And that's not like the other 10-8 rounds where somebody just smothered somebody for 5 rounds. Like he was standing, he was grappling, he was doing everything, and he just beat Benavidez everywhere. Askarov's only blemish, if you want, even on his entire record, is a split decision draw with Moreno, who just fought for the title. We were just talking about it in the last fight. He's got to be in the conversation. I guess it really depends on 2 things. One, is Triple C coming back if he comes back? And is he coming back at both 125 and 35 to reclaim his crowns? Because he said he wants to come back and just take over the whole damn thing again. Or is he going to come stick around 135 and then 125 still wide open for the likes of Moreno, Royval, obviously Figueiredo being the champion, and somebody like Askarov, who's now ranked 2nd behind Moreno, who arguably I thought beat Moreno back in that fight. I thought he won the fight. So that's just my opinion, but I think personally, I think he waits. And when they have that rematch early in the summer, I think they're looking for June?
Yeah.
When they have that rematch in June, he's next in the fall or winter. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, like I say, man, you never know what they want to do with the flyweight picture, because like sometimes, man, because that was the vision that they thought they were going to scrap, but then they kept it still.
Now it's one of the deepest.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, it all plays out on what happens on that championship fight.
Well, when you got fights like that Moreno and Figueiredo put on last time, I think it puts so many eyes on that division. And now, fast forward, what has it been, like 3 years since we've seen Mighty Mouse in the UFC? 4 years? Mm-hmm. We've discovered, as a casual fan base, we've discovered that these lighter fighters are existing. They're there. We thought there just wasn't anybody in those divisions. But now the flyweight and the bantamweight are 2 of the most explosive, exciting divisions in all. Mighty Mouse originally went down to that flyweight division mainly because he couldn't beat Cruz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he couldn't beat Cruz. He couldn't win at 135. So he went down and took over that division and beat everybody. But now you have the Royvals, the Cara Francis, still like veterans like Benavidez. You got up-and-comers like Askarov, Pantoja, Alex Perez, veterans like Tim Elliott. Like from 1 to 15, I wouldn't mind seeing at least half of those guys fight Figueiredo on any given night. So it's a fun time. And obviously being a new champion in Figueiredo, he's run through quite a few of them on his way to get there. But those are a lot of new matchups for him and a lot of fun things we haven't seen yet. Talk about Royval. We talk about Askarov. We talk about Cara France. There's a lot of new matchups for him. So it's going to be fun to see, in my opinion. Anything else you want to add to that?
No.
All right. Moving right along. And by the way, Joseph Benavidez is going to be back. Like, I don't know who he'll match up with. Maybe Tim Elliott. We keep talking about Tim Elliott. There's another good fighter. It'll be a fun fight because they'll just scrap the whole time. The next fight I was actually really excited about. Kyler Phillips looks like a rock star ready to explode on the UFC scene. Yadong Song has been steady as you go. He's always dangerous. Break that fight down for me.
Oh man, I want to say, man, the Matrix, man. That I want to say, man, his athleticism helped him out in this fight. I mean, good speed, combinations, had his wrestling. He just had it all. He looked real good. I was saying there was just times where it's just like Song Yudong, I think was loading up on his punches. Phillips saw, he saw them coming, and he was just able to move out the way.
I mean, you know probably better than anybody, but just distance, right? Like Kyler knew, and he said it as much after the fight, he knew he was the faster fighter. And whenever he saw him, like you just said, whenever he'd load up, he'd land. And he was doing it from a distance, a safe distance. He would jump in, jump out, jump in, jump out. He would keep moving. He threw these exciting like spin kicks. He threw like roundhouses. He threw basically he threw the whole kitchen sink at him. And for Song's credit, man, that guy's got a chin of steel. He took some major shots and kept coming forward. That was the guy that just beat Vera before Vera beat Sugar Sean. So, man, I got to wonder what's next for Song, because he was on such a good win streak as well, going back to like 2016. He's definitely not going anywhere in that 135 bantamweight division. But man, Kyler Phillips, he's got to be looking at 9-1, and his only loss is a split decision in not even in the UFC. It was in a promotion called CFFC. He's got to be looking at least, a ranked opponent coming up in that bantamweight division. He's ranked 14 now. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Stamen. I wouldn't mind seeing him against a teammate of yours, Jimmy Rivera. I think that would be a fun fight, because Jimmy's going to slug with you too. Like Jimmy's just going to keep coming, just like Song is. Who do you think will be a fun fight for Phillips next?
I mean, it's the same. If you're hanging out in the bantamweight division, I would think Cody Stamen. I mean, he maybe could get the loser of the next fight that we're going to talk about. Casey Kenny maybe. But I mean, you can't really go wrong. 135 is pretty stacked. I
just don't want to see him fight somebody like Merab. I think Dvalishvili will just take him down and nonstop. Like, he needs somebody that's going to. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kyler Phillips has great jiu-jitsu. He's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was like 3 years old. Like, that's when he started. So, the guy's got some skills as far as on the ground. But he wants to strike with you, and he wants to have fun. And I feel like somebody like Merab would just suck the wind out of him. I mean, Rafael Adesanya is right there. Dominick Cruz will be another fight. Dominick's mentioned before that he likes fighting some of these up-and-coming fighters now because he's not in the title picture anymore.
Yeah.
I won't touch any of the guys above that ranking because it's not possible right now. Who's Marlon Vera lined up against? I know he had a fight lined
up. Man, who is he lined up against? I'm about to say, I don't.
Fill some airtime, Brandon. We'll go look this up. What do you think's next for a song while I'm looking that up?
Well, I was gonna say I wouldn't mind seeing Cruz versus Phillips. I think that would be good, and also too, I like you said, I think Dominick Cruz would actually like that fight anyway, because like you say, he likes. I think he likes solving, solving fighters. Like say, Kenny Phillips calls himself the Matrix, so. DC, Dominick Cruz would probably say, I can solve the Matrix out here, So yeah, I would be down for that.
I know Vera's coming off a loss, so he's probably not a possibility anyway, because he had that loss to Aldo in December, which I completely forgot about.
And for a Song, I can see him maybe going up against. Maybe he get the Casey Kenny fight. They're both coming off L's. So I think who else fought earlier?
Coming off a loss, he might be good for Vera. But
yeah, hey, like we were talking about earlier. We were talking about Brian Boom earlier. Boom Kelleher. We talk about somebody from the first fight, like I said, there was plenty of bantamweights on there, man. You usually sometimes they like to match them up if you're on the same card with somebody.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of good matchups coming up soon. Speaking of that, we'll move on to the Dominick Cruz fight versus Casey Kenny. I'm not really even sure how that was a split decision. No disrespect to Kenny, because Kenny did have his moments in that fight, but Dominick Cruz dictated the pace that whole time. He controlled it all 3 rounds. I don't know one round I actually would give to Kenny, let alone 2 rounds that he won. He got on one of the split decision cards. Mm-hmm. Obviously, most of the news came out for that fight after the fight, but let's talk about the fight real quick. Break it down for me.
Hey man, Dominick Cruz, it looked like, man, he was healthy and he was back to his old foot movement. Dude was moving around, setting Kenny up, man. Like Kenny, it just didn't seem like Kenny didn't know what to do. I mean, I know when the pre-hype he said that he had Cruz figured out. He knows what to do. But hey man, when Cruz was in front of him, he didn't know what to do. He was missing. Cruz was just working, man. Footwork was good strikes. And I want to say one of the things too, like the one thing that he did have good was he was throwing some low kicks at Dominick Cruz, beat up on those legs. That way he can't really move, but he just didn't really invest in it. He didn't throw enough of them.
Yeah, and we're going to move forward because I know we're taking a little bit of time, and I know you don't have all day. Dominick Cruz looked great. I would say Casey Kenny did miss some opportunities. I noticed every time, like it's easier to say from looking at the outside than when you're in there in the cage and cross with somebody who's moving the way Cruz is. But Cruz kept jumping in and out. When he jumped in, as a casual fight fan, I'm not a professional, I noticed that he kind of put his head down every time. Like he jump in, like head down.
Yep.
The one thing I mentioned during the fight that Kenny's been known for, if you go back a couple fights, he repeatedly threw that left head kick 1,000 times. Like he just kept repeating the same kick. And I mentioned on the show, I was like, why not mix it up? You could do this and then finish it. But you and Sergio both said the same thing. If it's working, why mess with it? Just keep doing it.
Yep.
You know what he didn't do in this fight?
He threw it one time.
But every time Dominick Cruz would come lunging in, head down, from whatever angle he was coming at, if Kenny even tried to throw that, he would at least caught him with the knee, if not the whole kick. And I think he would have put Cruz to sleep. I think that was just bad strategy on Kenny's part. But once again, it's hard to say when you're the outside looking in the cage versus the inside trying to time somebody. He probably just couldn't time it, to be honest. But that's one of his marquee moves, and he didn't do it. As far as Cruz, I think he's still going to be like the gatekeeper a little bit. I don't see any like really big fights for him coming up. We just talked about Kenny. Unfortunately, I think he's going to have to sit and wait for some of these things to work out. If he wants to go against somebody, we were just talking about Kyler Phillips or any of those guys. If he wants to give them a chance, but he's not even ranked anymore. So,
one fight that I would like to see as a fan is Dominick Cruz versus Frankie Edgar. That's a fight that I've always wanted to see as a fan.
That would be a really, really fun fight.
So you never know, because you maybe could see that happen.
We're going to hire you as the matchmaker, because I didn't think about that, and that would be a great fight. I would be remiss if I did not talk about it real quick before we move on to the next couple fights. Obviously, Dominick Cruz, when asked who to call out, he didn't call out an active fighter. He called out Hans Mellencamp from Monster Energy, who is he's kind of a goofy guy. He likes to have fun on social media. He likes to showboat and take videos and pictures with fighters. And even Dana in the past has called him a clown. I'm not calling him that. I'm saying as Dana's words. Because I really don't know much about the guy, to be honest. But I watch some of his videos. I know he likes to have fun. Obviously, him and Dominick have an issue behind the scenes. Maybe he feels like some fighters aren't getting sponsored for whatever personal vendetta, personal reasons. Monster's one of the handful of UFC licensed sponsors. So if you want to get that extra money from them, you got to be sponsored by them. Same as Reebok, same as some of the other sponsors that they got, Budweiser. So I understand it's probably a financial thing. I don't want to really see that fight. I've seen the guy, he's obviously 100 plus pounds bigger than Dominick, but I think Dominick would tear him alive. But Dana, for his purposes, he went out and defended his sponsor. He's like, no, it's not going to happen. They're a very good sponsor to us. I personally love Monster Energy. If you watch any of the early episodes, I always had a can with me. didn't work out for promo purposes. I'm still open to it, Monster, if you'd like to give me a call. Because I do drink Monster Energy quite a lot. It's actually one of my favorite unpaid ad. It's one of my favorite energy drinks. So there's that news. Casey Kenny, in the ironic sense, I guess, on the same card as Megan Anderson after all that hoopla a couple months ago, off Sugar Sean's show. If I was going to say a joke in a non-PC era, I'd say maybe Casey Kenny in his next adventure could take Megan Anderson out to a nice, beautiful dinner and, console their losses together in a nice, friendly, and professional way.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to put that, but take her out like a gentleman, even if she is like a foot taller than him. But that's a bad joke, probably. Anyway, we are going to move on. Time for the main card. We're going to kind of roll through these a little bit because I know Brandon has to get out of here, and there really isn't much to talk about until we get to the title fights because both Brandon and I's picks got trucked. I picked Thiago Santos over Rakic. That didn't really work out. Thiago, for whatever purposes, bad strategy, whatever you want to call it, just Rakic's length.
Yeah.
He never got on the inside. He never went for it. I've never seen Thiago fight so passively. Have you?
I want to say his fight before with wasn't it Glover or something like that?
He went for it against Glover. He just got bullied.
Yeah.
Because he rocked Glover. Remember, he had Glover on the ropes the first, or against the cage, that first round. He was trying to finish Glover, and then Glover, as he always does, I think I named that episode "Man versus Machine" because Glover just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming, kind of like Jan does. He just keeps coming. Thiago fought in that fight. I've never seen him do what he did this fight. And then also Rakic controlled the distance, did the striking, 3 rounds. It was never really a question on the decision.
Yeah, man, it was all Rakic. It was all Rakic. Like I said, man, like I said, really, really, Thiago didn't do anything, man. To me, he fought. It was one of those things where he basically fought to not win. He wasn't really doing anything. He threw some shots here and there, but it was just all Rakic, man. Like I say, he used his length. The only thing I just didn't like was bro, that fight never went to the ground, but somehow you got your brown belt in jiu-jitsu. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hey man, I'm so happy for I'm happy for him, man. He got his brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Happy he got the W. Let's see what happens next for him.
I think it's a little premature for Rakic to go around calling himself, the face of the light heavyweight division, that he wants to be the face of it. I think he needs to prove a little bit more. But he's sitting right there at the number 2 ranking behind Glover. So we know Glover's next. Jan said as much later. We'll talk about that in a minute. I think Rakic now has to wait and see what happens because it'd be going backwards if he fought the winner of Reyes and Yuri.
Mm-hmm.
One of them may want to fight him next, but it'd be going backwards. And correct me if I'm wrong. What's next for Thiago? Maybe down against maybe an Anthony Smith or even maybe even a Krylov who's coming off a loss as well.
Yeah. What about Ozdemir?
I honestly don't want to see that fight. That's me. I think it's time for Ozdemir to kind of ride off into the sunset. He looked so bad his last fight.
Maybe that's what Thiago Santos needs,
I think he needs it. I just don't think I really want to see it. But they don't pay me the big bucks like that. They pay you to make all the matches, like Frankie Edgar and Dominick Cruz. All right. Anything else you want to add to that fight? Because that was pretty much a snooze fest.
No, man. That's it.
All right. We're going to move on. This is your fight, so I'll let you kind of take the lead on this one. Your boy Drew Dober got stuck in an arm triangle in the 3rd round. But Makhachev, he's one of Khabib's guys. He's been kind of like the mysterious guy in the division, the boogeyman in the division that nobody really wanted to fight. He had a hard time getting a fight for a long time for a myriad of reasons, visa issues, COVID, everything that possibly could happen. But he's here now, and he looked really damn good. Break that fight down for me.
Hey, man, Drew Dober knew what was going to, he knew that he was probably going to end up on his back. But the thing was that he thought that he would be able to probably, get himself back up. They even said it on the broadcast. It's one of those things you bring people in to imitate somebody. But the thing is, though, they're not that guy because you just don't really know what what pressure that guy's really bringing. That guy's gonna be able to give you. How that guy really moves. And I think that's just what happened, man. Just Drew Dober, man. He just got. I think the plan was to save his energy, try to explode up. When he knew that wasn't working, like come to like the second and third round, that's when he was like, okay, let me maybe start to do some jiu-jitsu out here, do some striking, from the ground. But it just wasn't enough. It was a wrap after really the second round. The fight was over once he went back down, to the ground. But good fight, man. I knew I should have went with Dominick Cruz as my pick, but I should have gone with Sean Brady. I just wanted to be bold and switch it up. But I know
we're going to talk about one of your bold picks coming up real soon.
Yeah.
Real quick, what do you think's next for Makhachev? We just kind of talked about some of those lightweight killers. Drew Dober, he might actually be a good matchup for somebody else who lost on this card. We're talking about, or somebody coming up on this card. I'm talking about Kennedy. He could be coming up. That might be a good fight for him. We're talking about maybe at 155. For somebody coming off, a loss, but still kind of higher ranked, even though he's not ranked, they both could be. That would be fun. They're obviously on the same timetable. I don't think Drew Dober has any really damage from this fight. He just got kind of smothered for 3 rounds. But the question is for Makhachev, because he's been in and out the last couple of years, but he's been off the last couple of years. As far as rankings go, he's right there next to a good friend of the show, Paul Felder. That could be fun. Darush should be another fight. Dan Hooker coming off a couple tough fights. That might be a good one if you want to really see where this guy's at, right?
I think Darush is the fight to make for him, because there's both, like I said, because Darush is a black belt with the jiu-jitsu, and he can strike. So, if he can keep the fight standing up, I think it's his. If it goes on the ground, it's gonna be the wrestling versus the jiu-jitsu, and we got to see who wins.
All right, folks. I know Brandon has to get out of here soon, so we're going to break down these 3 fights and then kind of breeze through our picks for next week. But this is the fight that makes the most news. Funkmaster, Sterling versus Jan. It was a back and forth fight for the most part through 3 rounds. You could see Sterling definitely fading going into the 4th round. Even he said in a video afterwards, he doesn't know what happened to him. He didn't change anything different than what he does, but he definitely felt like he was slowing down in that 4th round. And then, even though he was winning on 1 card, I think most of us at home and obviously on 2 of the cards at the time had Jan winning 2 rounds to 1. Going into that 4th round, for whatever reason, Peter Jan's corner told him it was okay to throw that knee. I want to blame Jan because Jan should know better. He's not brand new to the UFC. I know back in Russia, soccer kicks were allowed, but he's not new. He's been in the UFC now for 7 or 8 fights. It's something he should know the rules. He shouldn't have to ask his corner if it's okay. I don't think he intentionally tried to get disqualified. He was winning the fight. That's just ridiculous for anybody who thinks that he was a cheater or looking for a way out. Clearly, somebody in his corner told him that his knee wasn't on the ground. Like, that has to be what happened. Sterling, for his part, I don't think he was acting either, because when he tried to get back up the first time, he fell right back down. I think he was clearly concussed, at least for the moment. And if you listen to Sterling released a podcast later talking about it the next day, he clearly said a couple things. One, he thought he was screwed because that fight wasn't going to continue. He clearly thought it was going to be a no contest and he would never get a shot again, at least for a long time. So that's why he was crying. He thought he didn't know he was going to get the belt. And honestly, he looked pretty sincere when he was saying it because he was almost agitated at everybody thinking otherwise. As far as taking the belt out and celebrating with it after he said he didn't want it, he said his friends kind of did it and kind of boosted his confidence. I call bullshit on that. I think he finally realized he's the champ, and no matter why, he is the champ. And, it is what it is. He didn't just get disqualified himself. He didn't do it to himself. He did what happened. I remember years ago, Chael Sonnen and John Jones were fighting, and at the time, John Jones, even though he was dominating the fight, got his foot stuck in the side of the cage. I don't know if you remember that. And between the rounds, there was talk that John Jones might not be able to continue. And then John Jones came out that round and finished Chael Sonnen. So it never came into play. But they were talking about it then. If Jones couldn't continue, then it would have been a TKO win for Chael Sonnen. So, what is your opinion on the whole thing? And then we'll kind of move on to the next fight.
Hey man, I don't know why Sterling's is getting all this heat. It really should be on Jan. Jan's the one who did the illegal knee. You know, it wasn't Sterling. You know, it's not like Sterling said, "Hey, knee me," or anything like that. I think it's just crazy how people are trying to get on him for celebrating, for hanging out with his friends. It's one of those things, man. Even if it's like, actually, yeah, I was thinking about it. It's like even if is even what your guy says, you know, BA, Bruce Arians, win or lose, we booze. So man, the man
my guy, I just gotta live here. I'm a Giants fan. Don't put that on me.
Hey man, hey, you were about Tampa Tom earlier, right?
First of all, I was enjoying the moment. You
would
okay. You would too.
Okay. But moving on. But
you didn't see me down at Ybor City getting like COVID.
But remember though, but the thing was, man, he trained really hard for the camp. He still had a fight. So even if, say, he didn't win, I'm sure him and his friends would still be toasting it up and, hey, you know, good fight, good training, all that stuff. Now, I wouldn't put it on him because I don't think he's the one putting out the photos. But, you know, if it's his friends that put out the photos, man, that's on them. But, you know, again, man, it's one of those things, man. Even if he took the L, his friends are there to cheer him up, because I've had it happen to me, man, where I've lost a fight. And everybody around you is like, hey, you know, hey, you did good, you know, Blasey, this and that, you know. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not gonna get on the man for enjoying himself. His friends made him say that he was a UFC champ. He wasn't trying to say it, because there was even a video. You had the belt. They said say it, and he just did a cough.
Yeah, his friends are the one that took it out of the bag. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when he did say it, he basically whispered it. He didn't even want to say it out loud. You know, so I'm not gonna get on him, man. I know how it is, man. You know, you're training hard, you fight hard. It doesn't go your way, or you know, just something happens, man. I'm not gonna get him, man, for party, because even you look at another Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Rob Gronkowski, when he was with the Patriots and the Giants beat him. What happened? A video popped up of him dancing at a club after the Super Bowl loss. So again, man, win or lose, man, you still celebrate, man. You did all that hard work, you know, enjoy it, man. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, as far as what's next, we obviously know what's next for both guys. Immediate rematch.
Or Triple C is going to interject that it's going to be him versus Sterling.
Dana's already said, and it's pretty much.
Yeah, Dana says a lot of things. Remember that. But
you have to. After losing the belt on disqualification, you have to run it right back, especially when Jan was winning that fight. And honestly, you don't know what's going to happen in the fight. You know, at any given time, anything can happen. But Jan was on his way to winning that fight as Sterling was slowing down. He had Sterling figured out. He had those trips. He had those takedowns. He was actually, you know, putting himself in good positions and getting out of bad positions. He wasn't going grappling with Sterling, but when he did, he had Sterling in trouble. So he didn't, like, Sterling outstruck him, which is kind of ironic. But a lot of that, even Sterling's words were like pitter patter, just touch. Whereas Jan was loading up for a lot of shots. I think the rematch goes the same way. I think Jan would probably win the rematch, because I think he's got Sterling kind of figured out. But, you know, anything can happen, especially if Sterling doesn't have that adrenaline dump and has that energy in the 4th and 5th round. Do you think the rematch is going to go differently?
Hey, man, there's always time, changes to be made. You know, maybe Aljamain Sterling will slow himself down instead of being go in the beginning.
Well, Brandon, in the effort to get you out of here fast, at least we don't have to talk long about the next fight. I'm talking about Amanda Nunes and your girl, Megan Anderson. Let the world know this guy right here picked Megan Anderson. Ariel Helwani put out a tweet saying that he thought one person was the only person to pick him. I was like, no, he wasn't. I got the videotape. Ladies and gentlemen, go back last week, watch our picks. He wasn't very confident in it, but he wanted to be against me for whatever reason, and he picked Megan Anderson. So I'm going to leave this one to you real quick.
Hey, man.
What do you think of that fight?
Hey, I thought Megan Anderson had a chance. Like I said, good camp, you know, hanging out with James Krause. It was just, hey, man, it was just Amanda Nunes. She got off first. You know, that's what I feel like. I feel like Megan Anderson, she never got going. Like, I don't think she ever throw anything. Well, I guess apparently
she had a couple
Amanda
like
Nunes.
distance
I guess
punches.
Amanda Nunes they get hit twice. So that was really it. You know, I mean, Amanda Nunes caught her, and then boom, she went for the finish. You know, got it. You know, she got it to the ground, and she got her submission. So good job, you know, to the champ, and then we'll see what's next for her.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's next for either one of them because Megan Anderson has had a couple losses. She's had a couple wins. There's not many other fighters for her in the 145-pound division. There's talk after this that there is, like even Dana said, the 145-pound division only exists as long as Amanda wants it to exist. She likes being a 2-belt champion, so if they can find somebody else, maybe bring over somebody from Bellator's 145-pound division. She's teammates with Kayla Harrison, so even though Kayla's contract's up at the end of the year, that probably won't happen. But even Amanda said it's business, and if they got to fight, they got to fight. So that's probably a more interesting prospect, but that's a year out. She still has to defend that 135-pound title. She hasn't defended in a while. And we just mentioned that Holly Holm dropped out of the Pena fight so she could have a procedure done. Pena's been screaming for that Nunes fight, but Nunes said that she thinks she should rematch GDR first before she earns that fight because she just lost to GDR. But GDR, who was just offered a rematch against Holly Holm before the Pena fight, turned it down because she didn't want to do a rematch. So I don't see why she would take the Pena fight. At this point, I don't know what's next for Nunes in either division. Do you?
I mean, my thing is to say it's Pena, but you know, we'll see. We'll see if that is the fight to make. If not, I mean, there really isn't any. I mean, there's always somebody, but yeah. I mean, you know,
especially as long as Aspen Ladd's out with those knee injuries.
Yeah, but also too, though, I feel like Aspen Ladd, she needs to fight first. You know, she might want to come in. You know, you're saying she might want to come in off those injuries and fight for a title.
Well, I'll throw one name out there, and then we'll move on, and you can throw one out if you wanted to. Kunitskaya looked great her last fight. Yana Kunitskaya, she's ranked 5th. I think that's a face that I don't think Amanda's seen before. No. That might be a really good fight because everybody was talking about Ketlin Vieira being possibly up a contender. Yana ran through her, so I don't know. Do you have any names you want to throw out there before we move on?
Nah, man. So really, I mean, I am down for the Pena fight, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just don't think. I mean, I love Pena, but I don't think she's earned it yet, especially coming off that loss recently. Let's talk about that main event real quick, and then we'll move on to our picks, and I'll let you get out of here in the next few minutes. Sorry, I'm making you run late today. That is on me. But this is an epic card, and unfortunately, there's a lot to talk about. So, Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya. Let me know your thoughts on the fight real quick, and then we'll get into that.
Hey, man, it was a good fight by both guys. You know, I thought Izzy had a good game plan. You know, he was like, hey, man, you know, let's keep it at distance, you know, get his strikes on. I mean, his feint game was on point because Jan was reacting to everything. You know, all
Jan
his
didn't
feints,
fight like his normal self either.
You know, I mean, because I want to say Jan because Jan knew if he made a mistake against a striker like Izzy, it could be lights out.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to be smart. You know, but good job on Jan. You know, man, he had his jab going. You know, I mean, really, really good job on him in that 4th and 5th round to go, oh, hey, you know, I'm going to take you down and keep you there. And you know, he got those 10-8 rounds going.
What do you think of the scores?
I want to say I at least felt like because I want to say like they gave Jan like 4 rounds, right?
Each judge gave him 4 rounds, and a couple of them gave him the 10-8 rounds.
10-8s, yeah. Like I want to say I at least had Izzy winning 2 rounds, at least 2.
So I had it 3-2, and I probably wouldn't have done the 10-8 rounds because even though Blachowicz was on top of him, there wasn't much damage.
Yeah, it wasn't doing much damage.
It was just control. There was one point where he kind of came running down on Izzy, but he didn't really do much damage. The one thing that kept throwing me off, and I've heard people talk about this too, is the announcers. They were on such a hype train for Izzy that if you want,
I'm sorry, man. It's DC and Joe Rogan, man. Those are those 2 guys. That's why, man. Like
they
when those
were on
guys
a hype
are together.
Like if you watch the first couple rounds, you would think Izzy's just running away with this thing.
Yep.
I personally was confused by listening to him because I thought Blachowicz won the first round. And listening to DC, he constantly kept mentioning how he thought Blachowicz won the second round. Obviously, the judges thought that he won both rounds. And that was really the difference because everybody pretty much gave Adesanya the third round no matter what. Those first 2 rounds were obviously close enough to make a difference.
Yeah, I want to say that I gave Izzy the first round for sure. I thought he did better, did more.
Well, see, I had it switched. I actually thought Izzy, because of his distance and landing, won the second round. I thought Blachowicz landed the bigger shots because he kept slipping and countering, right? Like one thing even Izzy said afterwards, he was surprised by how good that Blachowicz was at being patient, waiting for him to extend and then countering him over the top or with a jab. So I actually had the other way, but I had Izzy winning 2 rounds and Blachowicz winning 3. I wouldn't have given the 10-8 rounds. I just wouldn't, even though he controlled him on the mat for 3 minutes, 1 round. He wasn't doing anything. He was just fighting for position. And Adesanya wasn't getting hurt. I thought Adesanya, and he said it, I guess, as much after the fight, that he didn't sleep very well. If you look at my Twitter feed, I sat there and said I thought he looked asleep when they were doing the announcements. He didn't do his usual like style bender stuff. He just sat there and stood there. Like that threw me off in the beginning. I knew there was something off with him. But I do think overall, I think he was exposed. I think it's not easy to do what Blachowicz did, but if you put him in there with a wrestler that's going to go balls to the wall and not worry about getting caught by one of Izzy's kicks or it's a risk game, right? You know this because you're a striker. Can Izzy get to the guy before the guy gets to him? And Izzy's so great at distance. He's so great at timing. He's so great at speed. But if somebody gets him and grabs him and puts him on the mat, I think Izzy's going to lose every time. Like, that's just my opinion. We'll see what he's next with him maybe fighting. I guess he's fighting the winner now of Costa and Whitaker or whatever else is next to that. I guess it's Whitaker or else or nothing. I don't really know. What do you think is next for Izzy? And because we already know what's next for Blachowicz. It's Glover Teixeira. They've already said as much. When that fight happens, because Jan wants to go home with his newborn kid for a little while, maybe later this year. But what's next for Izzy?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie. I want to see Israel Adesanya versus Uriah Hall. I want to see that fight. That right there is another striker's delight. Uriah Hall is talking so much smack, saying that how he would mess Izzy up. You know, I know that Uriah, he has to fight with Weidman. I think Uriah's ranked 9. I think Weidman's ranked 8. You know, type of deal. So we'll see what happens. You know, it probably will be Whitaker if Whitaker does win, but we'll see.
Well, I think Vittori's still sitting there waiting. Izzy called out Darren Till. He said that's the one fight he hasn't fought yet that he's kind of interested in.
Yeah, but Darren Till, he said he has to win some fights.
I'll tell you the guy he should be scared of though, and he has to win another fight or 2 before he gets to Izzy also. Based on the way he looked last fight.
I know what you're gonna say, man. I know you're gonna say.
Kelvin Gastelum.
Oh, really?
Kelvin Gastelum looked fantastic with his last fight. He set a record for takedowns in a fight. If somebody like him who can stand on his feet at least a little bit with Izzy and then can take Izzy down that way, I'm not sure who you were thinking I was going to say. But
they already fought.
Yeah, but right now, that's a different Kelvin Gastelum.
True.
That Gastelum we saw last fight looked amazing. And all of us were, like, impressed with the way he performed. That's not the same guy that lost 2 fights in a row.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, now I can't remember his name. I got his face.
Kevin Holland?
No, Samoan as well from Vegas.
And middleweight?
Yeah.
Brad Tavares?
Yeah, that's who. There you go, Brad Tavares.
Come on, I love Brad, but Brad's ranked 14th. He's not fighting.
Hey, man, but hey, he looked good his last fight too. You were hyping him up. You always hype him up.
He looked great against Carlos Jr. You were gonna say. He did look great against Carlos Jr. I'd love to see him fight like somebody like Weidman or something. I think that would be a fun fight. Kevin Holland needs somebody to dance with. That'd be a fun fight. I think he's getting ready to fight Derek Brunson, isn't he?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun. Vittori's the one kind of sitting there waiting. I think he's gonna fight Till next, I believe. I've heard. But we'll see. But I think Gastelum, he needs another win because he did win a fight for like 3 years. But you're talking about a guy that's a former champion and has all the tools. So that's that for that. Anything else you want to add before we move on to our picks real quick so I can get you out of here?
Nah, man, it was a good card. That's all. It was a good card.
This card blew away 258. So if you went out and paid for 258, I'm sorry. 259 was definitely worth your money. Real quick, coming up this weekend, UFC Fight Night 187. I think it's Vegas 21.
I think so, yeah.
Vegas 21. Last second kind of main event put together a few weeks ago. Bilal Muhammad. Nobody wanted to fight Leon Edwards. He jumped up. They're both actually, ironically, 18-3. So tell me who wins and why.
This one's a little tough, man. Like, I really want to say Leon Edwards, but man, the dude hasn't fought in like, what is it, like a year and a half?
Yeah, you know, Bilal, activity you don't know.
Exactly. You know, Bilal, man, he's looking good, man.
July of 2019 against RDA.
Yeah, you know, so I mean, I kind of really just want to go with Bilal Muhammad. I think he's going to take it. I just think he's going to be a little more active. His combinations has gotten real good, you know, with his striking. He has takedowns as well. So I'm just going to go with a Bilal for this one.
I'm going to go with Leon Edwards, but I'm not positive about it. And I know that's kind of like your territory of kind of waffling, but I'm going to take it this time. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because, like you said, we haven't seen him in a year and a half. And is it the Bilal Muhammad who looked pretty bad against Jeff Neal just like 2 years ago, or is it the one who's looked like a world beater the last 4 fights?
Yeah.
So which Bilal Muhammad? He's only getting better, which is dangerous. But at the time when Leon got kind of benched for everything, he was getting better and better. You know, He ran through Cowboy. He had that weird split decision with Gunnar, but he ran through RDA. So I'm going to stick with Leon Edwards. I'm assuming he's been training and in the gym this whole time. So that's going to be one of the biggest mysteries. In the co-main event, Superman Ryan Spawn, he's fighting Misha Kirkanoff. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Ryan Spawn on this one. Fan of his. I like his work. I honestly think he's going to win this one by finish. Probably second round I'm going with.
Yeah, both of them have a loss to Johnny Walker. Both of them got knocked out by Johnny Walker, so I guess it's really. But I think Spawn's been a little bit on more of a winning streak before that loss, and Misha's been kind of up and down. You know, he beat Patrick Cummins, he beat Jimmy Crute recently. His last fight all the way back, but he hasn't fought since September of 2019. At least Ryan fought a couple times last year. Man, that's tough. I'm gonna go with Ryan Spawn too, but that's a really tough one. Pick one other fight, and I'll let you get out of here.
I'm gonna pick the fight that you took a while ago. I'm gonna go with Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder.
You son of a.
Yep, I'm gonna pick Angela Hill.
I wasn't gonna pick it anyway, so bite me.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Angela Hill. I think she's gonna beat her again.
I agree with you. I think. We don't know what happened really. You know, Ashley Yoder's camp got COVID, like not Ashley, but it was just a weird situation. Weird situation. You don't know how that throws off your training. I haven't seen much of Ashley, like as far as social media wise goes. I know Angela's been staying ready. So I like Angela in that fight too. The fight I'm actually going to pick 50K going against the governor, Gavin Tucker, Dan Eash. I think Dan Eash takes it. Gavin Tucker's been on such a roll. He's only lost that one fight back in 2017. He looked great. Gavin Tucker looked really great against Billy Quarantillo, another Tampa kid, by the way. Trains at Gracie South. I keep meaning to get over there and say hi to those guys. But another guy right here in Tampa, he looked great against him. Dan Eash, man, he was running through everybody till he ran into Calvin Kattar. So which fighter's going to win? That seems like to be the story of this card. These guys who have been up and down, trying to get back on track. I'm going to take Dan Eash in that fight. You see any other way? How do you see it?
I too, when I was looking at that fight, I'm going with Dan Eash as well. You know, I mean, Gavin Tucker, he did look good in his last fight, but I just think Dan Eash, he has the experience, and I just think he's going to take it.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about that. Real quick before I let Brandon get out of here, artofmma.com/shop, promo codes right up there. Feel free to check that out. Save 15%. Brandon, anything else you want to add before I let you get out of here, bro?
Yeah, man. You know what it is, man. We got to show love to Ginn Frey as well because she's fighting on that card as well. And then, of course, remember, people like, subscribe, man, share, tell your friends to tell their friends. Let's get this thing going, man.
Yeah, let's keep this community growing. We've had some really good comments the last few episodes. Had quite a few viewers for last episode, so that was kind of awesome. But more than likes, more than subscribe. Like, I love when you like and subscribe. Click the little bell too, by the way. I love that. But comments, man. Me and Brandon jump in those comments. We love talking to you, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram. Hit us up, tag us. We'll get back to you. We're always paying attention. So thank you very much for the mechanic and myself. Hope you guys enjoy the fights this Saturday. Let us know how we do. Hit us up in those comments. And we'll see you next week. This is Art of MMA.